Hello, hello, good afternoon. Welcome to this class today, the Snap Reports class, where we learn how to make our Excel work better and prepared to update our data very fast because we already automated the work before. I hope everyone is okay. If you are watching from YouTube or Facebook, please give me a sign there that you are hearing me well, sound is good, image is good. Let me know how things are on your end. So let's just prepare. I'll be preparing my files here. And so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Cilia Alves. I am an Excel business solutions developer. So what I do is to prepare custom solutions for all kinds of companies in different industries. Any Excel work that helps them do the especially recurring tasks in a more efficient way. So saving time, saving money, improving communication channels so that the data, the information can flow its way and arrive to each person on the team at the correct time and in the correct format. There are a lot of things when we talk about automation, and maybe sometimes we just think about preparing some code, connect the code to a button and press the button and make that happen, make the code run, and with that something will happen by itself instead of us having to type it or to do it manually. But besides coding, there's a lot of things that we can consider and include in what could be called the process of automation. Knowing well our Excel as a tool, knowing the features, knowing what we have available, the different tools, knowing about how different details work and how they can affect our calculations and our processes can save us a lot of time, because sometimes we are struggling with something that is just so annoying and we cannot discover why that is not working well. And sometimes the solution is pretty simple, but we need to know, and that comes with time, with practice, with experience. So regardless of the moment you are now with Excel, whether you've been working with it for a very long time and you are very confident with the tool, or if you are just starting, let me know your thoughts along the class if you stay with us. And please feel free to add your comments and your contribution, because we all learn from each other. Let me see if I can have any feedback there. We have Old Man Lag there. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. When I'm looking to the side, I'm just looking to my other monitor where I have your comments. And we have Salem Gangam. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Thank you. And Wayne Edmondson, thank you. Watching us from California, mid-afternoon here. Yes, so in fact, it's a challenge for me to find an optimal time, because I have people watching the classes from so many different time zones, and I just wish I could provide you the class at the best time for you, but it's difficult because we have people in my time zone, people in a time zone behind, people ahead. So hopefully you will be able to get value from the class at some point. Just as a note, this particular week and the next week, the last lessons I'll be teaching live, they will be available only for 24 hours. Okay, so I hope you can watch them in that period of time, and that you can take value from it. The classes, the files that I use in these classes will be available on my Telegram channel, and you can access them for free there. What's Telegram? Telegram is a communication tool platform a little bit similar to WhatsApp, I would say, but different in a way that in this channel, I set up things so that people who join cannot have access to other members' contact information, so that no one is bothering you with any other comments or questions or matters that are not related to our channel. So I think it's a little bit more comfortable that way, that you know that you can enter the channel, check the information available there. It's a way for me to share information with you every now and then. You can also get the files that are already there. So even if you just join now, you can still have access to the files of the past classes if you choose to watch those videos and want to practice. Okay, so feel free to join and to try. You can join and leave if you are not if you think it's not something for you, but I hope you can stay with us. So today we will be talking about a situation that happens, I see happening a lot, and that people don't understand what's going on sometimes, or a lot of the times, and cannot fix it, and spend a lot of time trying to work around the issue. And so those two main situations are when we have a VLOOKUP formula, and we see the formula is well written, we see the data, we are trying to find information related to a piece of data in another range, and the formula simply does not work. Another situation where the cause of the problem will be similar is when we have a set of data and we try to build our pivot tables, and the pivot table simply does not calculate the way we expected it to calculate. And then we will see, so we will see examples for these two situations, and then we will see a third example as well. And as usual, for the purpose of this demonstration, I will be using very small sets of data, so it's very easy for us to cross information and check and see the results of our actions, instead of working with very large sets of data. But of course, if you apply these to a situation where we have thousands of pieces of information, of records, these will still work. Okay, so what's important is to understand the method, the technique, the concept, and then you can apply to any virtually any kind of set. Of course, if you are working with data that comes into the sheet in Excel, you know that an Excel sheet is limited to just a little over 1 million rows, 47,576, I think it is, something like that. But if we work with Power Query, we can in fact work with more than that amount of records if we don't load the data into the spreadsheet. Okay. So we have Rob Collins with us. Thank you, Rob. Bobby Collins. Thank you for joining us today. And Claudia Roxo from Portugal. Nice to see you here. And someone here, utilizo professionale di Microsoft Office. I think it's Italian. I hope I'm pronouncing at least close to what it's supposed to be. Thank you everyone for joining me today. Okay, so I'm going to put your comments there a little bit more to the side, and I'm going to prepare my Excel file here to share with you, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'll be sharing I'll be putting my screen full size, so that those of you who are watching from smaller devices can still can see well. And even that, maybe a little bit of zoom would help. Okay. So very simple example, and I'm sure all of you will relate to this kind of situation. Here in this sheet called list, I have a simple a small range of cells where I have employee ID numbers and I have a commission. for each employee. It's a percentage. It's not formatted displaying as a percentage, but it's a percentage, right? The decimal number there. In this other sheet there, we have another piece of data. And imagine this piece of data came from another source, maybe another Excel file, maybe even a CSV file, and or even from the web. Someone copied that data. Could be us. Who has not done that many times, right? Sometimes you just grab the data, copy and paste that data into Excel. And then we just want to do a very quick analysis. So let's imagine I have employee numbers here. In fact, this is the same employee number appears 3 times. I just copied the same numbers over and over and created just a random amount values. And let's just imagine I want to find the information about the percentage of commission for each sale here, for each one of the employees. We can maybe come here to view. And this, for those of you, this will be useful when you need to work with 2 sheets from the same file side by side. So if you come to view and click in new window, you see here how I got number 2 after the name of the file. And now I have 2 windows for the same file. Selecting one of them and pressing Windows key and right arrow, I get to choose what from my other application windows I want to use. In this case, I want to use this other sheet. And now I can work from with both sheets. Control plus. So I'm selecting that one. Let me select this one also to do a little bit of zoom. Maybe let me fix the toolbar in both so it looks the same. It's easier for us to navigate like that. So I have the first sheet with my commissions information and the second sheet with the sales information. Okay, so we have information, we copy the data here, and now I am just going to enter a simple VLOOKUP formula. It could be XLOOKUP, it could be index and match, but just let's keep this just simple, using VLOOKUP that is more familiar to everyone, especially those who don't have Microsoft 365. You won't have XLOOKUP available. So I want to look up this number, comma, table array. Where do I want to look up that? I want to look up in this range. I could include the headers if I wanted. And now I press F4 so that I fix that range. When I move the formula, I copy the formula down, the range reference keeps the same. So table array is defined, comma, and now which column do I want from that array? I want the second column as the result of this function here, comma. And finally, do I want an approximate match or an exact match? I want an exact match, so it would be false, or I could type 0. It would also work. Enter, and it doesn't work. Okay. So let's see. Why is it not working? 121. I have 121. Why is that not working? Let's try copy the formula down. And the formula is not working for any of the numbers. I don't know if this situation has ever happened to you. It has happened to me a couple of times, and it took me some time at the beginning to figure out what was going on. And throughout the time, I used different methods to solve the problem. I just enlarged the columns here, and I'm going to do the same here. And I'm going to ask you, do you see any major difference between column A here, where we have employee IDs and column A there where we also have employee IDs. I'm going to wait a little bit because there's a delay. Type in the chat what the difference is between the two columns that you think exists. I know some of you know the answer for this. Let me know there. I'll wait a little bit because there's a delay from the moment that I speak until the moment my voice actually gets to you, on the other hand, on Facebook or on YouTube. Let's see. I have Martin Collins here saying hi from Ireland. Thank you for joining us, Martin. And Nuno from Portugal, welcome. Yes, Wayne is asking, yes, this week the class will be available for 24 hours only. Okay, that's correct. You heard me well. And Martin is suggesting alignment. Yes, that's correct. Alignment, here the numbers in column A show aligned to the left, and there they show aligned to the right. So that is correct. And then Wayne is giving us another clue. One is text and one is numeric. And Claudia, one is on the right, the other one is on the left. Only one is number and the other is text. Exactly. So those of you who have a little bit more experience and have gone through these type of challenges, you already know. If I click here in column A, let me put this, and I check the alignment. I don't have any particular alignment set up for this column. And if I do that for in that other window, if I check the alignment here, also, I don't have any particular alignment format there. So what's happening is that here, I don't have, if we check the number format, it says general for both columns. So if you check up here, it says general all the time, meaning that we don't have any particular number or data type format associated to these cells. And so this way Excel decides how to interpret those values. If we click here, we can see that we have a list of different options to choose as what we could call data types, but in fact we could say that we only have two data types. We have text and we have numbers in Excel. When we, and you can say, oh, but we also have currency and we have accounting and dates and all that scientific notation, fractions, percentages, etc. All these are more of a different way of displaying a number than a data type. So a data type is in fact number for all of them, but then we have different number formats to display those numbers depending on what we want to represent with them. If it is a date, then we can display them as a date in different ways. In fact, if it is a percentage, the same, we can change, or if it is currency, we can make it look, show us with a currency symbol so that we can associate that number with currency. But in fact, they are numbers. And then we have text. Okay. In this case, since I did not define any alignment formatting here, and since we have this as general, we can tell that Excel is interpreting both columns as numbers because Excel aligned the numbers to the right in both columns. If I would come here and put a single colon, not colon, single quote there before, this is one way of transforming this value or this set of characters composed by the digits 1102 into a text string. I'm going to press enter, and you see how that aligned to the left. By entering the single quote, it's one way of telling Excel that I want this to be looked at as a text. In the moment I set up something as a text, I won't be able to make calculations with it. Even if it's composed just of digits and it looks like a number, I cannot. Sometimes I can, because Excel is smart. Sometimes the formulas, functions, sums, multiplications, etc., they can recognize a number in text strings and still do the operation. But we need to be careful that if we are informing Excel that something in a cell is text, some of the things cannot work as expected. Okay, so if I delete that, enter, it goes back to the right. Now it's a number. Okay. Going back here to the other sheet, we see everything is aligned to the left. So there, I'm not sure if I ever did mention the alignment incorrectly. So I'm just going to repeat to make sure. Aligned to the right is for numbers if we don't change the alignment ourselves, because I could come here and change the alignment to the left, and that would still be a number. But if I don't choose any alignment formatting and Excel chooses to align to the right, means Excel is working with that as a number. If Excel shows me everything aligned to the left, means Excel is interpreting that as text. And that can very easily happen when we are copying the information directly from other sources like CSV files or HTML, and they carry some kind of format with it when we paste it. Also, in this case, I have my settings are prepared to alert me. You see these green triangles here. If I over this alert symbol here, it says the number. Let me see if I can zoom in there. The number in this cell is formatted as text or preceded by an apostrophe. So that apostrophe, that's the single quote a character. It's what determines a value to be recognized as a number, as text instead of number. Okay. Okay, so now that we are aware of this, now it becomes a little bit easier to understand why this formula may not work. It's not working, right? Because we are looking for what we have in cell A that here is being looked at as a text string, and we are looking for that text string in here where we only have numbers, and that's why Excel cannot recognize the information and does not do the match. It says, well, I don't see what you are looking for, this string, I don't see it there. Okay, we put maybe it is a little bit bigger monitor there. And just a small pause here. Hi, Christian. Nice to see you from Romania. Thank you for joining us. I know it's late for you there. And we have Cudi, Philippe from Portugal. Nice to have you here, Philippe. My name is also, I also has Philippe in one of the many words my name has. Typical Portuguese name with a lot of words. One of them is Philippe too. Okay, so let's go back here. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, that you don't know what's going on, and then you come here and you edit, and then you go enter. Oh, and when you do enter, it starts to work. Oh, okay, so I can do that. I can double click and then enter, or just press F2 to edit the cell and enter. And I could go like this and like this and like this. But in this case, we could do that. We have about 30 cells there, 30 columns. But if we have thousands of them, you don't want to be going through all the cells there. So I'm going to undo, and let's see other ways we could find to solve the problem. So what we need to do, of course, is to match the two types in both sets of data. Either put one to number, or set one to number, or set the other one to text, right? So let's see. We could do both ways. One way is to come here and say, well, since these are employee numbers, I want Excel to take a look at these, to look at these as numbers, as text, sorry, because I don't need to make calculations with it. If we try to come here and set these as text, they do align to the left, but the formulas still don't work. And again, we would have to come here, edit, and if I start to, like, it's like enforcing I don't know what really is happening behind the scenes, but we kind of have to enforce through a calculation directly in that cell to make that cell be the data type that we choose for it be enforced. So that's not a good process. It doesn't work. It still doesn't serve us well. Another way we can do this is to use this tool that we have here in data and then text to columns. Let's use this tool here. And this tool is, in fact, prepared to help us separate text that should be in different columns and comes to us all combined in just one column. It's not the case here, but it's still good to solve our issue. So the first step is to tell Excel what's the delimit. Say it's delimited text, okay, and then say what is the delimiter that separates the different columns. It doesn't really matter what we choose because in fact we don't have text to separate in different columns. We want everything still in just one column. So we can just click next and move ahead. And in here, that's the important step. I want Excel to recognize these cells here as text. So if I do that and then click finish, I have my cells aligned to the left, and let's check our table, our formulas in the other sheet. You see now? Now, since I cannot, I'm not sure if I can do undo. So if I do undo, formulas don't work. If I repeat the text to column, now my formulas work because this is text and this is text, and it can find the values that I need, okay? Just to show you that what I was telling you before, let's say now I want to calculate, okay, this commission times that amount. Although this is formatted as text or is being interpreted as text, Excel can still calculate it. So sometimes we get lucky like that, but we need to be aware of this problem, okay? So we, of course, could also do it the other way around. So instead of formatting these two numbers, we can try coming here, select all the range, and use the same technique. So data, and let's find here text to columns. Let's say it's delimited. It's not really because it's just one column. It doesn't matter what the delimiter is. And now let's tell Excel to use this to make this information be looked at as, we could say general. We can try general, right? Because we don't have numbers here. So let's use general. Finish. Okay. And now this is type general. This is type general there, and the formulas will work. So that's our first example. Let me know what you think so far. Anything new so far for you or not really? Let me know there in the comments if there was anything interesting for you so far. Have you ever come across this kind of challenge before? Let me know your thoughts. I really like when you send me comments on the other end of the screen. So I have. This would work if you want to keep the lookup table as numbers. Yeah. So Wayne is suggesting to use the formula text. that would be one way. I'm going to leave it there in the screen a little bit so that people can test that. If you work with the files later, that I will leave the files available in my Telegram channel. You can find the files there. If you choose to test this a little bit, feel free to try this suggestion by Wayne. Another way that I sometimes use is the following. Let me go back to share my screen. And let me go back here. Let's see if I can undo this. So here we have numbers, cells set up as general, and Excel is treating them as numbers. Here we have information interpreted as text. Another way we can make this work, instead of changing the data type in the source or in the data that we get, is in the VLOOKUP, we can use that suggestion by Wayne, or we can use this other function here. And I use that a lot when I don't want to be touched. I don't want to touch the formatting because files sometimes belong to other person. It may affect other things. So one of the ways we can make the VLOOKUP function to work is to, let me zoom this a little bit, is to nest our cell reference inside the function value. And if we, the value, if we, let's see if I can get information here, converts a text string that represents a number to a number, which is exactly what we want. And it's giving us the example in this case for cell A2. We have, it's even indicating us that in cell A2 we have a string. It's the screen definition is not very good, but it's double quotes there. The number is in between double quotes, so it's a text. And then it's telling us that the result of the value function for this input will be the number 10021, 10,021. So it does not have double quotes, means it's a number. Okay, so that's exactly what we want. You see, so it worked. So if I now double click to copy the formula down, we can see, sorry, I just closed that file there. I wanted to just zoom out, but I pressed the wrong key. But we can see here that that's another way of solving the problem. So it's putting the value inside the VLOOKUP, value function inside the VLOOKUP. Okay, so that's another way. Okay, so I'm looking here at your comments, and just in a minute, we will be moving on to another example. Martin Collins is telling us that that has this type of issue has happened before. He didn't try the text option, and his workaround is with if error, and then use array, etc. Text, use the text. So I'm guessing a similar situation to the one that Wayne was suggesting, using the text. Now you have two other options. Maybe they are just quicker to use. One is just changing the data type with text to columns. The other one is to use the value function inside the VLOOKUP. And then you can use, of course, whatever you think it's best for you. Okay, so let's move on to another example. And in this case here, we will see what happens when we are loading data with Power Query. Just going to take a sip of water. You see data Power Query. Let me put here my face a little bit. So Power Query also has data types that we can use when we are building our queries. And in the end, what we should think is that our data types need to match should match Excel's data types in the sheets if you are going to cross information. Although there are some nuances sometimes that things don't work exactly as we want or as we need. I would say that the important thing is to be aware of all these possibilities, being aware of options we have, and then, of course, depending on which data we are working with and what's the situation there, we can try different things and without spending a lot of time finding for solutions if we are already aware of what the options are for us. Okay, so in this case here, we have the exact same thing, the same information as before, and same information. So this is all text. We can see that those little green triangles there indicating that it's interpreted as a text. Let's load this information into Power Query, okay? So click anywhere here and go to Data, Get Data, or in here, in fact, from Table/Range. My table has headers, okay. And see, let's see here, we have just our data loaded. Automatically, we got this change type step. Let's delete this step for now. Okay. And let's see what happens if we don't define any data type. We get this, let me put this a little bigger if I can. Okay. When we get this icon here, ABC123, this is associated to what in Power Query is type any, meaning we are not defining any specific data type to this column, and Power Query will do as it thinks is best in each circumstance. So if we go close and load to, and I'm going to put it in a table just beside this one. In fact, I'm going to put it beside the list so it's easier. Existing sheet, maybe let's put it here. Okay. Why am I loading to the workbook if I already have the data there? So this is to simulate a situation where we would not have the data in the same file as we have the lookup table. It's just, in this case, I have everything in the same file just to make it easier for our demonstration here today. But let's imagine we are loading this from another place. What happens if I put a VLOOKUP formula here? VLOOKUP, the value in this cell and column emp ID, and look for the information here, F4 to lock the cell reference, give me the second value and give me an exact match so I can put type a 0 as false. It did not work. Okay, so although this is the any should work kind of the same as the general type in Excel, in this situation, because this data comes after a transformation in Power Query and this one is in Excel, it does not work. Okay, so and we can try. So let's do some experiments here. So type any, this is type any, and now let me rename here my query to type any. Okay, let's duplicate this query, and the only change I'm going to do is I'm going to transform the first column to number, so type number. And for numbers, in fact, we have different options. Let me delete that step there. If we come here, we have different types of numbers. We have decimal number, we have whole numbers. If we choose decimal number, it's what it is in fact called type number. We could use that, or we could use the whole, format this column as whole number. I was reading about these matters before, and what I've read from Ken Pauls is that in terms of performance, in fact, this data type as the whole number will be the most efficient one. So it's the one for which Power Query spends less resources when transforming our data. So if we have very, very big sets of data, and for example, I think I might have told you before in other classes that if the employee number is not really a number, it's just an ID reference, I'm not going to make calculations. I would prefer to format this as text. But apparently, in terms of performance, the text format is what consumes the most resources from Power Query. So if you are dealing with big sets of data, it's probably best in these scenarios to leave it as number, as if it doesn't hurt, leave it as numbers, whole numbers. Okay, so there's a separate tip there, a bonus tip there for you. I'm going to leave the amount there because we are not worried about the amount at this point, and we are just testing the other, what's happening with these other columns. So close and load to. And existing worksheet, I'm going to put it here. Okay. So this is what we get with type whole number. Okay. Let's try our VLOOKUP formula. I'm going just to copy from there, paste it here. Now it worked, okay, because it can match the information in this cell that Power Query is bringing it to us as a whole number with the information in this cell there, where Excel is also interpreting that as a whole number or as a number. And finally, we could try, of course, we could try as a text. So if I duplicate that this query and put this as text, and in this step here, if I choose to set this column as text and then close and load to, let's put it there. Okay, we can close this for now. Let's put just our information here so that we don't forget. And if we try the same process, it doesn't work. I should have asked you before I tried. I should have asked you whether or not you think this would work or not. But it makes sense, right? Because if we are bringing this as text and there is as a number, then I cannot make my formula understand that it's the same. It's the same thing because it's for Excel and Power Query. It's not. One is a text string and the other one is a number. Okay, so that's something to really keep in mind. And now let's see what happens if we would build pivot tables with this information. And for that, maybe let's go and also change. I was telling you that I was not going to worry about the amount column, but in fact, I'm going back and I'm going to edit that. So in here, type any. I'm going to leave the amount as any. And then in this side here, we can access the other queries. In this one, type number, I'm going to set this as a decimal number. By the way, another information that I think it's important, the difference between decimal number and currency is that currency will work with 4 decimal places. Okay, we'll round to 4 decimal places using, I believe, 15 digits of significance, but it will round your data to 4 digits. This will help with performance as well if you have a lot of, if you have a big set of data, because different numbers that after rounded become the same number. So after the 4th decimal place, they were different, but after rounding the first 4 decimal places after the decimal separator are the same. Doing this rounding makes that in your column, you will have less unique values. And so Power Query will be able to perform better, according to the information I was reading about a couple of days ago. And finally, let's try and leave this as text. If we leave this as text, and now let's close and load everything. So everything is loading here. That one should also have, okay. So let's see what happens if we build pivot tables out of here. Any predictions there? Well, I haven't told you which kind of pivot tables we will be building, right? But there's not a lot of options. In fact, I can even come here and clear this column, clear all. Oh, it doesn't remove the column from the table. So Control minus, here Control minus, Control minus. So now I only have the 2 columns from the data. And let's build some pivot tables. So if I click in any cell and I go to Insert, Pivot Table, and so the data is in there, okay, and I want in existing worksheet, I'm going to put it here, okay. And now I only have 2 fields. I want to put the employees in rows and the amount in values. And look what happened. It gives me count of amount. And most likely I would be interested in a situation like this in summing the sales amounts if these are sales, right? I'm going just to very quickly to address, to build the pivot tables for the other sets, existing worksheet, in here, okay, do the same thing. You see what the difference is? It automatically gave me a sum, and there it gave me a count. We will go to that just in a minute. And just to make this complete, let's insert a pivot table here too. Existing worksheet in this location here. Okay. And let's put employee IDs here, the amount there. And this behaves similar to that one. And even if I want to come here and value field settings, so right click, value field settings. I'm not sure if the screen is too small for you. Let me maybe just put this bigger. Okay. And I see that I have other options here. And I say, oh, I don't want to count. I want a sum. I want to sum the sales amounts, and it gives me sum of 0. Okay, same thing would happen there, same thing. And the reason is the same. So remember these columns here, let's go up. We have the amount and the employee ID both set up as number. I said no, that this one was text. It's a mistake there. So this one was text. Let me change that. This one is number, and in here is type any, so it's not defined at all. So I can only make sums. I can count. So when I don't have when I have text or something that is not a number, I can count how many occurrences of a certain thing happen. So in this case, it's counting how many amounts I have for employee number 121, but it cannot sum them because the amounts are not defined as numbers. Okay, only this one here where the amounts are defined as numbers is where I can get the sum. So this is, just keep this in mind from now on. Sometimes we forget to indicate the data type in Power Query, and then we go and want to build some calculations with pivot tables. If the calculations are not working well, the first thing that I would recommend you to check is going back to the Power Query editor and check your data types there. Maybe just changing and tweaking there on the data types, that will probably solve the problem. Okay, so that's one of the causes for this to happen. Okay, so that's it for this example. Let me check here my notes if I have any other things to tell you. And if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to let me know there in the comments as well. So that was pretty much this for what I had for this example. Okay, so let's go. Oh, excuse me. Let's go. Let's go to the next one and final example. In this final example here, it was a question from one of the viewers of the channel. And it's a similar situation where we have a set of data that we want to import with Power Query. So I have it here, but let's imagine it was on a separate file somewhere else. And we have a lookup table. And then we want to, we get product references, product IDs with the quantities, and we want to find the price for each product. Okay. If we, so the difference before continuing, you can already, let me put this a little bit bigger, you can already see that some of these references are just composed of digit characters. So Excel interprets them as numbers. I have it set up as general, so I'm not defining a specific data type here. And others have letters. So the minute we enter a non-numeric character, automatically becomes text. Okay, and same thing here. We have numbers, and these are the list of unique product references that we have there. Okay. So we could try these both different ways, and if you want to access the file later and do different tests, feel free to let us know if your thoughts and other techniques to solve this problem. So, but the challenge here that the person was asking me was, okay, I want to load this data to my Excel file with Power Query, and then I want to do some lookups into my lookup table and bring some extra information. So let's do that. So data and get data, or here I always forget, from table/range. My table has headers, that's correct. Okay. And Power Query already went ahead as usual. I already explained on a previous class how we can change the settings so that Power Query does not give us the change type by itself all the time. It's quite annoying, but it's the default behavior in Power Query. If you want to avoid this, let's delete that, just so that you know. You can come to File, Options and Settings, Query Options, and in the global settings, so that this is valid for all the files from now on, or the other way around, or if you just want to apply that setting here, you use the current workbook. But here, Power Query Editor, type detection, data load, here, type detection, detect column types, never detect column types. Always detect column types according to the each file settings, and never detect. So if you do never detect, the next time you build a query, let's do that, it won't guess the data type of each column for you. You will have to do it yourself. The moment you think it's more it's the best moment in your query steps, in the list of your steps, to do it. Okay, so what do we need to do here? Of course, if we have digits and letters, alphanumeric product codes, I would go here and set this as text. I don't think it's a lot of, it's difficult to decide that. And in here, quantities, let's assume the quantities are whole numbers all the time in this case. So close and load to, and I'm going to load this to an existing worksheet. Okay. Existing worksheet. Let me, where is it putting this? Let's put it here. Okay. And the challenge this person was telling me about was that now, if we want to VLOOKUP this in there, that in that specific situation, that I could not really, I don't think I could replicate that, because if I do this, let's see, to second column and then exact match as a 0. Okay, there we go. So it does not work. If we bring this as a text, it does not work, because it does not work for some of the cells, right? Because these here are stored in Excel or defined in Excel as numbers. But of course, if we go to the query and say, okay, so I'm going to change that column to number. Cancel. Let's do this to whole number. It doesn't make sense, but let's just try that. Replace the current. Of course, we get all these errors here because of that letter that we have in the code, product code reference. And of course, if we go close and load, these cells come empty because of errors. We see that we have errors in here in our query, and now the formula works for these ones and does not work here. Okay, so that doesn't work either. So, okay, so what about if I don't define the data type for any of the columns and I leave it as any? So let Power Query and Excel decide what they want to do with it. Close and load. This actually works. So in this case, some products are coming as numbers, others are coming as text because I didn't choose a particular data type. And the same thing happens here in our lookup table, right? And in the end, one data type in here in the Power Query table matches exactly what we have in our lookup table, and it works. But despite this working well, I would not recommend this. We could do different ways. One could be, because I don't think it's a good practice to leave data types not defined. So we could come here and say, this is text. Okay, close and load. That doesn't work there. That's fine for now. And come here and use that technique. Let's see if it helps us. So data, and here, text to columns, and next. Let's say, let's tell Excel these cells need to be seen as text. Finish. Okay. So now it works. So that would be one way. Okay. Another way could be, instead of, let me go undo, instead of doing the VLOOKUP using formulas after the table is loaded, we could come here, delete this, and use merges, the merging feature inside Power Query to bring this information over. So for that, let's call this query here. Let's call this query here, rename. I was kind of blind for a moment. So let's call this alphanumeric data. Let's load our lookup table to Power Query. So this could be another option of solving the problem. Data from table/range. My table has headers, okay. And let's define the data types correctly. You see that now I didn't get that automatic step for the change data type. Now I get to choose it, to choose when to do it. So here, product, let's put this as text. Price, let's put this as, could be currency. And okay, and let's close and load to. Since I already have my table there, I don't need to load it again, so only create connection, okay? In fact, I could have given this a better name. Let's just rename this as product lookup. Okay, and now we can go back to that alphanumeric and say, okay, load the data from the source. And after you loaded the data, we set the first column as text. The quantities will be whole numbers. And now we can merge. So transform, where is merge? I got here. Merge queries here at home in the home tab. And let's merge the alphanumeric. See if I can get this. No, doesn't work. Let's see if I can get this bigger for you. A little bit there. So alphanumeric is the current query that we have, and let's merge this with query product lookup. Okay, and now we need to match the columns that are related in the two tables, and we want to say product column here corresponds to the same type of information as product column there. They happen to have the same name, the two columns, but it doesn't have to. We can relate, for example, one could be product ID and the other product or product code. We just need to highlight which column matches the other column on the other table, the second table. Okay, what kind of merge you want to do is the left outer. So give me all the queries from the first column matching with the second column. Say okay. And now we get a column with a table inside each cell that brings us all the matches found for each one of the product codes. We don't need to worry about that. We just need to come here and expand. Not aggregate, we want to expand. So let's choose, I just want to expand the price because the product, I already have it here, right? And I don't need to use the original column name as prefix. So let's click OK. And now we have the same result we would have if we would use the VLOOKUP formula. So close and load. And now we have our results here. We could try, let's say, for example, I have a new product, X8 there, $50. And let's say I sold 10 units of that product. So if I come here, right click, refresh, there we go. We have 10 units times it's not, no, and the price, it's not times, it's not calculating the total, although we could do that. I can do just that just in a moment. It's bringing picking up the price for each unit, and if we happen to need the total amount, we could calculate it here. Although for big sets of data, we should avoid calculated columns. But if you want to do that and it doesn't hurt in your case, we can come here and say add column, add custom column, where we multiply, let's say, total. That would be the name of the new column, and the total could be the quantity times, I just need to double click there, the price. Okay, and it builds the formula for me there, the function, and now we have the results there. Okay, just need to do, it needs zoom out, close and load, and now I would have my calculations there. But you see, the thing here is that I still have the data types not defined on my lookup table. I don't have the data types properly defined on my data, but during the process of transforming both the data from the source and loading my lookup table with Power Query using these two queries, during that process, I define the data types that I want for each one of the columns. And then because I chose that the product would have type text in both queries, the alphanumeric and the XLOOKUP, the product lookup query, then when I do the merge, it's possible to find the information related to one product in the lookup table. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts. We have Oz in the house. Thank you for joining us, Oz. Nice to see you here. Let me know there if you have any questions, any comments, if anything was new for you or not really. I would really like to hear from you about that. And let me see here if I have any other things left to tell you. So like I mentioned, I will be running 3 classes this week. So this week we have a greater amount of classes than usual. Usually we have 1 or 2 classes per week. This week I'll be delivering 3 different live classes. This was the first one. The next one will be tomorrow and the other one on Thursday. Stay tuned to with YouTube or Facebook or even Instagram to know about the topics. I'll be posting the next 2 classes and scheduling them. It should be for the same time, 5:30 p.m. EDT. So we are now in summertime, so it makes the time difference 1 hour less for those of you in Europe, for example. So instead of 4 times for those of you in Portugal, UK, it's now only 4 hours of difference until you also change to the summertime there in about 2 weeks. And so that's it. And remember to, again, I just wanted to note again that this type of things, knowing these little details, help us saving time. And that's all the purpose of my classes here, is to help you with tips, tricks, techniques, to help you with saving time, improving your work in Excel. And I'm also improving my own work when I'm teaching, I'm learning, and I learn from you, from your suggestions as well, from your questions. Feel free to leave questions in the comments as well if you think you have, oh, I have this other situation, it's similar, but it's not quite the same and I cannot solve it. For example, that alphanumeric last example came from one of the viewers. And I'm so sorry. It seems that spring is coming. I hope it was not too loud there in your end. I couldn't avoid it. I'm sorry. And And that's it. So now that you are able to identify this type of things, next time you keep that in the back of your mind, and it may help you to solve your challenge quicker. And remember, there's a Telegram channel. I'm going to put the link of the Telegram channel for those of you who might be interested in checking that. Like I said, it's a platform where I share the files that I use here. You can check and see if you want to join. You will have access to the files there. You will have access to any other alerts that I post there every now and then, or any ideas that I sometimes share there as well. And that's it for today. I hope you liked the class, and I hope that you can join me the rest of the week as well. Like I also mentioned at the beginning, the class, this recording will be available for 24 hours only for now, okay? So take advantage of it while you can. And it would be great if you could also share this with other people. If you have people at the office, you remember they were struggling with this type of thing, send them an email or a text message or something, a message, send them the link to the video so that they can watch it, and maybe this will help them as well. That's the whole purpose, to help people finding solutions for their challenges in Excel. And feel free to share yours with me. I would love to hear that from you. Let's see if I have any final comments or questions there, and then we will be closing the class for today. So great session, Celia. Thank you. Thank you, Christian, Claudia. Good to know these solutions for different data types. Thank you, Claudia. Appreciate it. Holman Lag and Bobby Collins is also, he has a mixed data set. I'll take a look at your comment there later and see if I can maybe help you one next time. Okay. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow, hopefully. Have a good night, a good evening, and enjoy. Stay safe. Bye-bye.